What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the first rendition of Tire Chatter, a new motorsports shorts kind of show where I'm going to be uploading daily, giving you a brief synopsis of the breaking motorsports news from around the world, the likes of NASCAR, Formula One, and IndyCar. Today, we are going to start it off with IndyCar because it was just announced today that Dreyer and Reinbold Racing have acquired a charter from Rahal Letterman Lanigan. So I'm going to talk about the implications and what that means for both sides of the coin. So let's start it off with Rahal Letterman Lanigan. So what's going to happen is that they're going to shorten to 2 cars next year as a result of selling off this charter. One of the things you could ask is, okay, why doesn't Rahal Letterman Lanigan end up running a 3rd car sort of unchartered next year? Well, that's because Roger Penske made a rule this year so that outside of the Indianapolis 500, if you are not chartered, if your car is not chartered, you cannot compete in any other races outside of the greatest spectacle in racing. So that pretty much handcuffed Bobby Rahal and the entire team into downsizing to 2 cars next year. Now the question becomes, what are they going to do with that team? It's very likely that Graham Rahal is going to stay, right? As you know, the name suggests, his dad owns the team. There's no reason for him to leave. There's no reason for him to be kicked out of the ride. And Louis Foster is likely going to stay around, and he's going to be one of the main guys, probably the young guy, right, that we're all looking forward to seeing how he's going to grow in the next few years, which means that Mick Schumacher is more than likely going to be out of a ride this upcoming season, coming off of his first top 10 of the season where he finished 8th at Nashville. He's currently 24th in the points, 2nd worst of full-time drivers, only to Stingray Robb. So it's really unfortunate. I'm going to throw in a little personal opinion here. I think he doesn't deserve to be kicked out. I think he, should get another shot in IndyCar. I don't think this should be the end of his foray. I don't think he should be a one and done when it comes to the series, just because I've seen how much he's grown from the beginning of the year up until now, and he's driving honestly better than he has this entire season. So I think he would be poised for I don't know if I want to call it a breakout season, but I think he'd be poised for a big improvement next year if he was able to find his footing in IndyCar and get another opportunity with maybe a Juncos Hollinger Racing, Dale Coyne Racing. If he could find his footing at one of those rides, maybe where VK's driving right now, where Dennis Hauger is driving right now, maybe AJ Foyt if Colette gets called up to another team. So I think he should be able to find his footing for 2027. I hope that this is not the end, because I feel like he has way too much potential for it to be just thrown away because of Rahal Letterman Lanigan selling that 3rd charter. So now what happens with Dreyer and Reinbold now? They're expanding to a full-time team. They've been Indy 500 only since 2014, their last full-time season being 2012 with Oriol Servia. So it's been a long time. It's nothing that they haven't done before, but they downsized their effort to only being Indy 500 after the 2012 season. Bar from, I believe, 2020, they ended up competing in the Indy GP race as well. So their last full-time season, was 2012. So it's been 15 years entering next year since the last time Dreyer and Reinbold had run a full-time entry. They've been running Indy 500 only for every year for the last 12 years. Last year, Jack Harvey and Connor Daly drove to 12th and 22nd place finishes for the team this year. So now the question becomes, with Dreyer and Reinbold expanding into a full-time effort once again, who's going to drive for them? There's a couple options, a few drivers that you can look at, obviously, and I think it boils down to the 2 drivers that drove for them this year in the Indianapolis 500 in Jack Harvey, who we've seen has found his footing within Fox Sports, being a really good pit reporter for their Fox IndyCar coverage. But also, I like Connor Daly. Connor Daly is a guy that has struggled to find his footing in IndyCar over the last few years, has been bouncing across different rides, drove for Juncos Hollinger Racing last year, got replaced by Rinus VK this season, and now he's trying to find his footing once again. He drove part-time this year, running in the Indy 500, ending up finishing 12th. So I think he is more than likely the guy that's going to take over for that ride next year. If he brings the sponsorship, I think it's a great idea. I mean, he doesn't have the most talent where he's going to be an up-and-coming driver. He's definitely not at that age anymore, but he's definitely a solid driver where if you want to find your footing again as a full-time team, he's a great holdover driver until you can find that guy, maybe you stay in contact with other teams and maybe try to build up alliances, and maybe that's what you can do with that 24 car in the meantime, if it is the number 24 or the 23. That is something that I think you can look at. But yeah, as of right now, it appears as if I think Connor Daly is the front runner to take over that Dreyer and Reinbold car for next year. But it's really interesting to see how it's going to end up happening, what ends up coming through, because there's a lot of dominoes that still need to fall in this IndyCar offseason, and there's a lot of places where Dreyer and Reinbold can go with this. If they don't want to go with Connor Daly, they can look at a guy like Nolan Siegel, maybe a guy like Stingray Robb if they want to keep his career going. Mick Schumacher even, if they want to give him a chance. I think you can't go wrong with very many of those options, but it seems like Connor Daly is the very obvious option at the moment. But we'll see what happens as this offseason progresses. Anyway, that's going to do it. Very brief, but that's all I had to say. So that's going to do it for this first episode of Tire Chatter. I've been your host, Christian Coppola. Make sure you drop a follow, subscribe wherever you're watching, drop a comment. I'll be replying to comments with if you want to continue the conversation further, we can talk about it in the comment section. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow on the next episode of Tire Chatter. Peace out.